Okay, so here's some updates. As you can see, this is the front of the fuselage. I just posted build video number 2 showing the back half, which I've been working on for like 2 days now. And so this beautiful little thing is the lighting control module. It came with the jet. Like many of these Chinese modules, it's kind of an interesting piece. No instructions, no case, just shrink wrapped. But it does what it does. And honestly, it came with it, and I'm very grateful to Baja for providing it. So you can see in here there's a spaghetti freaking mess of wires. I'm working that out. But this little baby, and it's hard to see, this thing is about to live up in that corner. So I don't know if I can get a good picture. There we go. So yeah, I like using double side Velcro tape so I can remove it or work on it. And it's got a couple of options in terms of whether lights are strobing or not strobing. So right now it has the rudder, the top of the rudder light strobing, and it has there's a couple of body lights that set out here on the aft end, which there's 2 surface lights. I have it with those 2 strobing, and then of course non-strobing for the wings and non-strobing for these little dots right here. And so, you know, normally there's like a lens and all that, but you know, we don't have that, and that's cool. And then we have lights for the gear, which this is not a traditional place for lights, but guess what? I'm keeping them. And then I bought this cool little light. This is the BVM F-16 1/6 scale light, and that is going to mount about right there, right there, somewhere on that gear door. And there's enough room for it. I just haven't mounted it. And the lighting controller, that's fun. Anyway, that's where it's going, somewhere in there. It's gonna be friggin' cool. It's super bright. I don't know if you've ever seen a BVM in 1/6 F-16, but that freaking light is blinding. And so I just ordered that light. And nicely enough, this little lighting module has outputs for 3 lights for the gear. So I'm going to keep those lights. So we're going to have, you know, that's from the top end. We're going to have those 2 landing lights. There's one there, and then over here there's the other. We're going to have those 2, and we're going to have the new geared door light, which is what it should have. So as you see, spaghetti mess. I've gotten some 1/4-inch snake skin ordered, which I should have already got, and I'm gonna snake skin these. This is all lighting. I'm gonna snake skin those. I'm just running them to their location, and I'm gonna mount them up under here. So up under here, you can see. I'm gonna route those up under here out of the way, and that's where they're gonna go. And then all this crap, which I don't really like, but this is where my 2 clips are gonna go. So you saw my last video, I have Thunderbolt connectors, one for lighting and one for servos. So they're gonna go there, and I have all these fuel tanks running down the outside edges here. And as you can see, there's no way to get into that outside edge. So everything is gonna run up. It's going to run through here and then up along this underside right here. I'm going to anchor it all right there, underside there, down through that hole, and then on towards the front. So that's my plan. There's also there's a crap ton of space right here before the nose gear, and I thought, you know, I can mount some things in there, but I don't know. I don't want a bunch of just misplace things, you know. So part of these builds like this is just trying to map everything efficiently and not have it all spread out. So putting the lighting up here, I don't have a lot of room because of the cockpit right here. There's not just a whole lot of room, and this thing is kind of, honestly, it's pretty thick. And I haven't measured, but that plate, there's no room to go under it, because if I had my way, brothers, I would just mount this underneath this board. But as you can see by that little cut in the slot and that little board right there, that ain't happening. It's pretty tight to the bottom. So basically what I can run underneath that board is leads and wires. And there's no room for a module to run underneath it. And I really didn't want to run it on top of that board. Why? I don't know. It's just my thing. And so that's why it's getting stashed back there with all of its, I want to call spaghetti mess of freaking lighting wires. But I actually have some order to them, and I know which ones are which. You can see like the tape on the ends. So these are gear lights. They'll go down here through that to these gear, and all this will be covered in snakeskin and then mounted again up in here. And then on the other side, so this is going to be lighting on this side, and on the other side I will run all my servo leads down through here. So lighting and all the lighting controls here, and on this side servo leads will run this way, either back or forward. There'll be one lead running backwards to control the motor, which the engine will set right here. I'm waiting for Bad Boys RC to let me know what I need to do to get straight on the engine. Roman and Terry, amazing guys at Bad Boys RC. As you guys, some of y'all know, I use Sweewind engines. You know, there's a lot of good engines: JetCat, King Tech. What are the guys from Mexico? Jet Central. And Zykoy, of course, is like, you know, one of the most amazing engines. And if you're into Zykoy, hey, you're cool. But I use Sweewind. On another note, you know, I didn't really do an update on this fuel system, but as you can see, a lot of F-16s have the exhaust port, the air intake port, like right in here. But on this one, there's actually a fuel tank right there. So it was not going to be easy to put the intake here like you see on a lot of F-16s, like right under here, because there's a stupid fuel tank in the way. So mine has one in the bottom and center. And, you know, I'm sure that some people will be like, you know, everywhere you go, no matter what it is you do, you got the snobs. So mine is in the bottom of the intake, and that's just where it lives. And it actually, its little plumbing wraps around the intake once, so that we won't have any, we could have like a little siphon break. So it wraps around there once, and then on top of it, I don't know if you can see it, there's a T. You can kind of see that T. It's a stainless steel T, and that's where it splits off into either side. And as you may or may not know, there are 4 tanks in this jet, which equals 6,000, or 6 liters, essentially 6,000 milliliters, which is more than enough. I mean, I think, you know, if you wanted to use these 2,000 for smoke and these 4,000 for fuel, you could, but you know what? I don't care about smoke, and I want to keep the jet light, but I like having the extra fuel capacity. So all these tanks feed into each other. And when I was organizing these tanks, these 2 main tanks, which are 2,000 apiece, sit over the CG. So the flow is front tanks drain back to the center tanks, and then the center tanks feed forward to, you can see a little nipple there. That nipple will hook up to the UAT. So the two back tanks, the two front tanks feed back into the back tanks. The two back tanks feed forward to the UAT, and then from the UAT, of course, to the pump, which will sit right next to it. Here's my, where's it at? There it is. Here's my UAT board, which will sit right inside of there. So, and you can see I have the threaded piece off because it's sitting on that pipe. And also, I found that having the T for these two tanks with a very short run to the UAT, just done some studies on that. It really helps to keep it balanced. If you have a long hose past that T, you can get some kind of weird differential pulls on those tanks. And don't ask me how I know that, but I did a bunch of reading on it. Anyway, there's the UAT. This actually was the original UAT for my Baja Hobbies F-16, and then when I added more fuel tanks, there was no room for this one. So I had it already. It's a high flow unit, and so it's kind of dirty, but that's a story for another day. And of course, you can see I didn't have any black paint at the time, so I filled in the place where they didn't send a UAT with this, by the way. And so, which is fine because most of the time they're garbage anyway. So I filled that hole in and I painted it blue because that's what I had at the time, and it was better than just plain wood. And so it's all filled in and glued in, and this UAT is a pretty good one. It's an Intarico, whichever. And so the pump will sit here. So it'll flow out of the UAT directly into the pump, and from the pump back into the engine. And I will mount the valve and the final filter somewhere back here, most likely. And so that's the plan for now. And that's the secondary update, just to catch everybody who actually cares up to speed. I mean, look at the light on that paint. It's freaking killer. And I figured out what this little emblem is. At first, when I did the first opening video, I was like, what is that, a lightning bolt or whatever? But I sat around, I was looking at it, and of course, maybe it's just because I'm one of the slower students, which is, I'm okay with that. It happens. And we can't all be, brilliant like Nick. Nick, you know who you are. Or Jeff. Jeff, you are also amazingly smart. But I was looking at this thing and I finally got it. This is an arrow wing. Duh. So this is the 174th arrow wing. Anyway, it took me a little while to figure that out. I was like, what in the world does this mean? And so I'm pretty sure I got it now. That's an arrow and that's a wing. So it's an arrow wing. Anyway, that's I think that's enough for this video. I've probably embarrassed myself as much as I possibly can. Hope you guys are enjoying this. If you're not, well, just don't watch. So that's all for now, man. Holler.